Make sure we got enough volume.
Is that like filming? Like
Say test 1, 2, 3.
test 1, 2, 3.
Again.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I have to up you up on that. Plus,
No,
plus.
I can't
Oh,
hear you.
that's the wrong way.
Need to be
Is
louder.
that filming me? Like,
It is.
see
It's
those
filming
just
you
my
right
voice?
now.
Video.
Everything you say.
That's video.
Just gotta see your manners.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good location. Okay. When you're ready.
Alright, hey guys. As we've been talking in lecture is about words and how they impact your life. Well, people's lives are impacted by choice of words, which can be encouraging, discouraging, and demeaning. In my case, I'm going to relate it to nursing because that's what I'm all about all the time. But I've had encouraging and discouraging moments with nursing. I'll start off with my encouraging. I've known for a very long time, well, not very long time, since about my sophomore year of high school that I felt that God wanted me to help people. I'm very outgoing, I love people in general, so I've known that nursing is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help those when they were in pain, and I wanted for them to see God through me and my actions and how I helped them in the hospital. It was the day before my senior prom. I was upstairs in my house. My nanny was over, and my dad was on the golf course, and my little brother, well, he's 2 years younger than me, so he was a sophomore in high school. He had his best friend over, and they're really adventurous. And we live on a farm, and we have a lot of woods and stuff. So they went outside and actually were building a fort. Let's keep in mind they're sophomores in high school building a fort. But so I'm in my house, and I have on my prom dress. This is the day before my prom. And my nanny's over, and she wants to see my dress. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show her. So I have my prom dress on, and I'm showing my nanny in my kitchen. And all of a sudden, it's just my mom and my nanny in the kitchen, and I see my brother and his best friend just slowly walking up to the house from the woods. And prior to this, my brother had asked my mom for a machete to build the fort with the cut down trees and stuff. So my mom was like, call your dad and see if he thinks that's all right. Well, my dad's on the golf course, so of course he didn't answer his phone. So they got the machete. Well, I see them coming up to the house, and they're calm, and my brother is just holding his head just like this, looking down, and my brother's friend Aaron is just calm. They come upstairs, and at the top of the stairs is the bathroom, and the kitchen's off to the side. Taylor goes directly, who's my brother, goes directly into the bathroom, and my brother's friend Aaron comes in the kitchen. He's trying to distract my mom and my nanny, and I went in, my instinct tells me something's wrong because Aaron's not just going to come here talking to us, and Taylor's going to be in the bathroom. So I go in the bathroom, and I'm in my prom dress, and I look, and my brother has blood gushing, just gushing down his face, from his head. And I'm in my prom dress, and I'm like, I can't get my prom dress straight. I'm like, Taylor, just put cloth on it. I'm going to go change my clothes. And I'm like, Aaron, distract Nanny because she will go crazy. And Mom, just distract them. So I run upstairs, change my clothes, and my mom sees my brother. And long story short, she passes out on the floor. She's literally in the Indian style, laying on the floor. My nanny's haywire. I'm driving my brother to the hospital, holding the ice to his head and driving because my mom can't. And long story short, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I knew from that moment that I needed to help people. And my mom, later afterwards, after my brother had 30-some stitches in his head, she's like, Beth, I know that God wants you to be a nurse. It was obvious today that you didn't freak out. You knew what you needed to do. You haven't had any training because I was a senior in high school. But she's like, that was my encouraging moment. She's like, I know you have what it takes. So that just took to my heart that my mom saw that this is really what I had desire to do, that I want to help. I just always want to help. So that was my encouraging story. But my discouraging story was I'm a sophomore, so my freshman year I was at Lynchburg College. I had to take a chemistry 120 127 nursing class. All nursing students, it was the hardest class that I've ever taken in my entire life. It was so hard. But I developed really good friendships. I had a girl named Cassie, Morgan, and Sarah. They were all my best friends. Like, they would come to my house. My mom would cook for them. It was good. We had a lot of study sessions. All I did was chemistry 127. Although I was taking 18 credits, all I did was chemistry. But I got an 84 in that chemistry class. Nursing has a 7-point scale. I couldn't get below an 86 to continue. So the head of nursing called me in and she's like, well, I want you to know that you can't do nursing like here at Lynchburg. You got an 84 in your first chemistry class, you have to have an 86. So with that being said, I developed really good friendships, and that's kind of what led me here to Liberty from Lynchburg, because I am, as of Wednesday, in the nursing program, so excited. But I've had my ups and downs with nursing, and I've had encouraging and discouraging moments, but it's been a really good experience so far.
Okay.
I didn't even look at my cards.
And Kelly's not here, right? Yep. Alrighty, that means Demetrius is not here, right? That means Megan is up. Ready?
Okay, so my thesis is that the power of words can be convicting, but the words of a group or even a generation can be even more convicting. It can sometimes be easy to brush off the words of one person, but when you're constantly berated with the words of hundreds, it can be difficult to resist. I plan on telling you about a difficult time in my life at the start of high school. At this point in my life, society was pressuring me to do things that I didn't want to do. In particular, they were pressuring me to read the Twilight Saga. Within the first few weeks of high school, I remember seeing my friend Katie buried in the book, and I asked her what it was, and she's like, oh, it's a vampire romance novel, it's so good. And I was like, okay, vampire romance novel, it doesn't sound very good. But by the third week, 2 more of my friends had begun to read the book, and I was sitting in science class, and I had one friend here and one friend here, and they were both reading the books, and I was like, what is going on? Like, why is everyone reading these dumb books? But it seemed like everyone was telling me, like, you have to read Twilight, it's so good. And I was like, no, I don't want to, but they kept telling me, and eventually I caved, and I really caved. I was one of those people who had the t-shirts and the wristbands, and I dressed like Bella, I looked like Bella. I was 13, by the way, it was a long time ago. But I was like the biggest Twilight nerd ever. I walked down the hallway reading the books, and it was just, it wasn't cute. So I read the books twice in about 5 months, and after the 5 months, the hype kind of died down, or it even more than died down. People were starting to hate the books, and I was like, oh no, Twilight's awesome. And I had all my friends to back me up, and then, after a while, none of my friends were there backing me up. Everyone was like, yeah, those books actually suck. So then, by the time I tried to read the books for the 3rd time, I started noticing all the spelling errors in it and the grammatical errors, and I realized that they weren't that great, and my friends didn't really like the books that much either. We all realized that we had just gotten swept up into the hype, and the words of our generation had influenced us to feign love for something that wasn't really lovable. So the Twilight Saga led to much embarrassment and wasted hours. But I think I learned that even though many voices are loud, they're not always right. So just because your generation is telling you to do something that doesn't really sound that cool, just think about it before you just go along with everybody else.
Sometimes it's a long time up there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels like a long time. It's not that much. Oops. Will, why don't you come up and get ready here?
can do a great deal of things. They can tear people down, they can build people up. Words can make or break a situation, a day, even a person or somebody's life. Something that somebody says to you can change the course of your life from going in one direction to a complete 180 to the other direction. Now, I don't really have that many stories that were applicable to this situation. I know that I've torn a lot of people down and I've seen a lot of people build me up. So I understand the situation. However, I just don't have a story that fits this. So we're going to talk about my theoretical friend, Matt, who kind of is a story. But yeah, we'll get there. But all in all, I hope that these two stories will show you that words can either be constructive or destructive depending on the way we use them, and they can change people for the better or the worse. So Matt never really did well in school. I had kind of a rough home life. Usually got in trouble, didn't get the best grades, got in fights, didn't always win all the fights, got a lot of black eyes, stuff like that. It was rough for him. Getting on up into high school, he was just done with things. It just wasn't going the way that he had hoped. And he was failing classes. He had failed classes previously. He was probably a junior around this time. And as he continued to struggle with this, he began to seek advice on the situation. And Matt had two friends that he trusted well enough to seek advice on what he should do about his schooling and his future and whatever he was going to end up doing. And so he's deciding which friend he's going to talk to. And this is where the story gets a little theoretical, because we're going to follow two different paths that Matt could take. Friend A, we'll call him, Matt approaches to ask advice. What should I do? I've been struggling with school for my whole life, and I'm just tired of this, and I don't want to do it anymore. I hate it. I hate my teachers. I hate my classes. And friend A is like, man, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. You can get a pretty decent job without finishing high school. You might as well just forget about it since you don't enjoy it and it's such a struggle for you. And so Matt takes his advice, drops out. Things don't really go his way. He ends up working in some fast food restaurant. He hates his job, hates his boss. Everything's just pretty awful. He ends up getting his girlfriend pregnant, and things just aren't going his way. He's not making enough money to support her and the child, and child support's coming after him. And ultimately, he picks up a job transporting drugs for a local group in the area, and gets caught and in the process, and one of the people that was working with him ends up shooting him in this situation because they know that he'll talk, because they can just tell by his personality. And it seems pretty bad, and that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Maybe you drop out of high school, your life's not going to be that terrible. It's probably not going to be. But in contrast to how it could be, it can be a whole lot better. Say Matt talked to friend B, and friend B says, wait, I mean, you've got a huge opportunity. Yes, this is really hard, but is there ever anything really in life that isn't hard that's worth doing? And he just keeps pushing that, and he says, you're really good at art. You can use that. Just finish high school and you can get a degree in art somewhere, and you can do what you love for the rest of your life and be able to enjoy what you're doing and make money from it, and you'll be able to support a family, you'll be able to go live other dreams, go travel, go see cool places. And so friend B helps Matt study and helps him stay on track with different things, and continues to push him to do well. Ultimately he graduates, does get into an art school, studies art and ends up being an artist and doing graphic design for an advertising company. He designs billboards and advertisements and things in magazines and stuff. And everything's not perfect, because that's not how life works, but he does well. So words can either build a person up to make them a graphic designer in this case, or tear a person down and wreck their life. It all depends on how we use them. So how are you going to use your words to influence others?
Alexis.
Hello everybody, good morning. When we started talking about this assignment, the first thing that came to my head when we were talking about words and how they affect people was the movie Fireproof. I don't know, I'm guessing most of you have seen it or at least heard of it. In the movie, there's a man he's about to lose his marriage. And his dad comes to him with this book and he says, I want you to hold off on divorcing your wife for 40 days. And he gives him this book. And the first day's entry is telling him to not say anything negative to his wife, because words can be very degrading and that can ruin a lot of relationships. And so my thesis is that words carry a lot of power. Sometimes that power can be used for good, but a lot of times that power ends up doing bad, and it's very degrading. So I didn't memorize the verse, but I did like it, so I'm going to go ahead and just read it out to you. This is James 3:2-10. It says, if we could control our tongues, we would be perfect and could also control ourselves in every other way. We can make a large horse go wherever we want by means of a small bit in its mouth. And a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And the tongue is a flame of fire. It is a whole world of wickedness, corrupting your entire body. It can set your whole life on fire, for it is set on fire by hell itself. People can tame all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and fish, but no one can tame the tongue. It is restless and evil, full of deadly poison. Sometimes it praises our Lord and Father, and sometimes it curses those who have been made in the image of God. And so blessing and cursing come pouring out of the same mouth. Surely, my brothers and sisters, that is not right. So now I'm going to tell you a story about a girl who I went to high school with. And in this circumstance, if the words had been my own, they probably would not have been very nice and uplifting. But I believe that God spoke through myself and my roommate as well. And so he definitely used both of us in this situation. There was a girl named Sarita who was very different. Every day she would come into school wearing a baggy, dirty sweatshirt and boys' jeans and those tan work boots that you see at construction sites. And she would say that she was just trying to fit in, but because of what she was wearing, she always really stood out from everybody. And often she would ask for rides after school, and the annoying thing about it was that she was very rude, and when you did give her a ride, she would sit in your car and criticize your car and your music choice, and in my case, she would criticize my party-free and drug-free lifestyle. And on occasion, she would even ask me to go buy her cigarettes, which I refused to do because she was underage. She was not 18 yet. And so that was a rough thing to handle when I'm sitting in the car next to her driving her somewhere, and she's just criticizing, and all I want to do is just tell her to be quiet and that I'm not going to ever give her a ride again. but I just was thinking to myself that she must have a pretty bad life at home to be acting this way in public. And so I held my tongue and I tried not to say anything negative. And so one night she was texting myself, and I wasn't in that great of a mood because of some of the things that had happened with us in the past, and so I didn't really want to be talking to her. But she started asking me what my favorite bands were, and she just said, "I need you to distract me because all I want to do is cut myself." And I guess she had been doing that in the past. And so, when someone tells you something like that, you can't just, blow them off and say, "No, I'm not going to talk to you." So I tried to talk to her as much as I could, and I had been listening to a lot of 10th Avenue North, so I recommended them to her. And so actually she had been texting my roommate as well that night, and my roommate took her to church that weekend, and a couple weekends after that, and a few weeks later, she became a Christian. She accepted Jesus Christ as her Savior, and she has turned her life around. I found out later that since the night that she was texting both of us, she has been drug, alcohol, and cutting free, and that was probably 9 months ago, about. So words really do have the power to change people's lives. In this case, it was for the good, but like I said before, I don't think it was my words or my roommate's words. I think it was God speaking through us and using us for that purpose.
Sure. All right, Austin.
Alright,
Wait a
today
minute. Okay, go ahead.
I want to talk to you about the power of words. And I like to think of words that have like potential energy, like constructive. You can use them to be constructive or destructive. And it's really up to us to decide where we want to go with them. So my main points are that words have the power to intrigue and to motivate and to encourage others. First, words can intrigue us. Ernest Hemingway was once challenged by his fellow writers to create a story using only 6 words. And that's really not a lot for even like most sentences, but he did it. And it goes like, "Baby shoes for sale, never worn." So that's the story. But it's really simple, but it engages the readers, makes them think about like why baby shoes were never worn, and like were the people expecting a baby and just, like, a tragedy happened or something like that. So it just makes you wonder and think. So that's an example of how words can intrigue us. Second, words have the power to motivate us and inspire us. An example of this is in the 1940s when Britain was being attacked by the Nazis, and the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, inspired the nation with a bunch of like motivational speeches, and just inspired the people to defend themselves and stand up, stand alone against innumerable odds. And they also gave Britain a leader that they could trust in and just have hope in. So finally, I want to talk to you about a personal experience I've had where words have the power to build up and encourage. It was actually when I first came here to Liberty. I was feeling really homesick and just missed summer, the freedom, and this summer vacation, just everything about home, and I was kind of just stressed out about school starting, like new classes and stuff. And I was kind of overwhelmed just by like the size of Liberty, and I was kind of doubting whether I had made the right choice about college and stuff. just like coming here, because I also been considering a community college where like we could stay like close to home and just, you know, that was kind of nice, but I'm just kind of worried about this was like far away and stuff. But anyway, this one day I met this one guy. I don't remember his name or what he looks like or anything, but I just remember talking to him about like how I was overwhelmed, just didn't know if this was like the right fit for me and stuff. So I was just like talking with him, and he said he was like a senior, so he said he had gone through like the same sort of stuff, and he had the same sort of problems, but what he did is he just told me to think of it like it's a job, and like don't think of it as school and just having to fit in. Just think about it as just a job. You have to just do your work. So I tried that, and it worked, and I've just enjoyed it. Enjoyed school ever since. So STEM mindset helped me get through just all my doubts and stuff. So in conclusion, I just want to say that words have great potential, and it's really up to us to use that potential for good or for bad, to like build other people up or tear them down. It's really up to us to decide what we want to do with that. And the Bible says that do not let any unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word that is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. And as Christians, we should just try to use our words to encourage others and motivate people to just give glory to Christ.
Very true. All right, Justin, let's see if we can get you in.
Okay, I want to share something that happened to me in high school, and it really taught me that words have the power to inspire people to do things that, you know, usually you would think are impossible. So, I think I mentioned before that I play classical guitar, and this is a competition that I entered for 4 years in a row, and I never placed in it or anything. A lot of really skilled guitarists from all over the United States come to Washington, to George Washington University to compete in this, and so kind of a lot of pressure, but my teacher was saying it's good, you know, to get the experience and do it, so I did. But this last year, I was ready to age out of it, and I had never accomplished anything in it really. And so it was my last chance really. And I got the set piece, and everyone gets a piece they have to learn in, it's about a month, and I get it over Christmas break, and it's one of the most difficult piece I've ever had to learn. And I remember being up till about 2 in the morning pretty much every night over Christmas break, trying to figure out this piece and learn it before the deadline, which, you know, it's in February, the competition, so you have to be ready over Christmas when school hasn't started. Well, I began to get more frustrated with the piece because I wasn't making any headway, and I think, okay, I'm going to get up there, make a complete idiot out of myself. I can't do this. So I went into my lesson one day, and I said to my teacher, I said, Doug, I can't do it. Like, I've tried, I really spent a lot of time, I just can't do it. And so I told him, I'm just going to drop out, you know. I did it for 3 years before, and, you know, I'm just going to have to call it quits. So he kind of was quiet for a minute, and then he said, look, Justin, I know you put a lot of work into this over the last 4 years, and I know that you haven't seen any return from it, but he said, I know if you stick it out these next few weeks, you can have the best performance you'll ever have. So I thought, okay, well, he knows me, what I can do a little better than myself. And I said, okay, I guess it's only a couple more weeks. I can do it. So I got up there the day of competition, and still really nervous, like anyone, you're up there by yourself and there's judges, and I just kept remembering though what he said. Look, it's just, you're in a good spot to just do it, just finish out and finish strong. So I played pretty solidly, and it kind of goes by so quick you don't really realize, and I was like, well, that wasn't so bad. I did it. There's still a lot of really skilled guitarists left, so I'm thinking, I'm not gonna make it. It's, played okay, but these other guys spend 8 hours a day practicing, and it's fine. Well, as we were waiting for the judges, I just remember being like, it's gonna be like all the other years where I have to leave early. Everyone else, all the other people that made it get to stay for the next day. But okay, that's fine. Well, when they got up there, they were calling out everyone who had advanced, and my name was called the very last. And I just remember, it was kind of a whirlwind, because then you have to go around and talk to the other judges and guitarists. So I remember being really excited though, and it didn't really hit me till later that night when I was leaving for the GW University and driving out of DC along the parkway that goes around it, and the lights of the mall were shining on the Potomac River, and it was, my teacher had to leave earlier that day, so he didn't know that I'd made it. And I called him up and I said, Doug, I was called for the next day to come back. And he was, really encouraging, and I thought, okay, wow, that's, I'm so glad I could do this, because, it's a good reflection on him too, who put all this effort into me. But I think it was probably the proudest moment of my life, calling him and telling him that his work had paid off, my work had paid off, and that I had moved on. So, 2 days later, when I was standing up there on the stage at the closing ceremony, I remembered what he had said to me and how close I had been to quitting. And literally, if he hadn't had those words for me, I think I would have quit that day. And like other people did, there were other people in the competition, good guitarists that I knew if they had stayed in, they probably could have beat me, because I was in the last spot picked. And I was talking to people there, and they said, oh, no, I couldn't do it. This song was too difficult. And I remember thinking, if these people dropped out, if they had stayed in, I would have probably not made it. But my guitar teacher's words inspired me to do something that just a few weeks before I would have thought impossible.
Okay.